Gaming has become a massive hobby with over 2.5 billion people participating in it. And it's not just kids anymore, as over 72% are older than 18, with the average age being 34. And according to TechJury.net, the video game industry is expected to reach over $180.1 billion in revenue by the end of 2021. Gaming has been a massive part of my life. My parents introduced it to me, and some of my best memories are made by playing games with them. This is why it annoys me when I see video games being dragged through the mud, being blamed for violence and laziness and other forms of moral decay. But let's take a closer look at what games are being blamed for. I see high-tier politicians often linking video games with violent acts. Donald Trump himself was seen to say that the level of violence in video games are surely shaping young people's thoughts. He said this in reference to the Parkland, Florida shooting. And there has been some research that seems to prove this statement. This was a competitive reaction test that was done in the early 2000s. This test involved two groups of people, one that played 20 minutes of violent video games and one group of people that played non-violent video games. After they played, they were put in two separate rooms with a button and a light that would turn on and off. The participants were told to press the button when they saw the light turn on. They were also told that there were people in the other room doing the same thing. If they pressed the button first, they were allowed to punish the other person by playing white noise in their room. They had full control over the length and noise or volume of the white noise that played. It was found that the people that played violent video games seemed to hold the button down longer and have the volume increased when compared to the non-violent group. Another misconception, or things video games are being blamed for, according to the APA, is that video games rot your brain or reduce your intelligence. This is most likely came about from parents telling their children to get away from their screens and go do their homework. I could find no research that backed this claim, but I could infer that it comes from the stereotypical gamer, the one who sits on their butt all day playing games and doesn't do their job, their homework, or interact with their loved ones. But now that I've identified some of the most common misconceptions, I'll do my best to try and refute them. Starting with the research, the main problem with it is that the actual results are incredibly minute. The people who played non-violent video games held the button down for 6.65 seconds, and people that played violent video games held it down for only 6.81 seconds. To give you a comparison, average eye blink takes around from 0.1 to 0.4 seconds. So there's researchers claim that their research was a link between violence and video games, but their proof was the length of an eye blink. To further hammer my point home, there's a study done, according to the APA, with British teens. These teens were aged 14 to 15, and they were put into two groups. One group that played non-violent video games for a month, and one group that played violent video games for a month. Their parents were asked to report any increase in aggressive or violent behavior. Over that month, no increase in any type of negative behavior was found. Gaming has also been found to strengthen the mind. A study done by the EPA shows that gaming can increase your spatial reasoning and creative and reaction times. It could also improve your problem-solving skills, especially in children. It can also help you find a lot of friends or stay in contact with your friends. I have personal experience with this, as during the pandemic I obviously couldn't hang out with my friends in real life, but I was always able to do so every day after school with my friends over Xbox. I've also made personal friendships with a lot of people just over the online. Now let's look at what the world could be like if we vanquish the stigma that surrounds video games. If everyone knew that video games wouldn't cause violence or negative behavior, that means more people would try it, as it's super easy to get into, as mobile gaming, most people have phones, and mobile gaming, it takes around 34% of the market, according to TechJury.com. It also has educational benefits, as Minecraft has an education mode that was used very much during the pandemic, as it has over 63 million downloads. This game can be used to teach kids things like coding and other forms of education. And if you eliminate the ignorance of video games and eliminate the link between video games and these issues, you could focus on the real causes of these issues, whether that be mental illness, or bullying, or better gun control, or something like that. Now let's go over what I went over this speech, or what I've gone over this speech. First, I gave you some statistics about the growth of the gaming, as well as identified some of the most common misconceptions. I've given you some examples of the benefits, like increased problem-solving skills, and how it's a cover for many of the real issues, and it can be educational. But first, I want to clear something up. I'm not saying that there are no dangers with gaming. They can be addicting, and I'm not saying that kids should be allowed to play any of these M-rated games, which is why they're M-rated. What I do have a problem with is why video games are used to scare the ignorant into thinking they're sources of evil. Video games should be a source of fun, not fear. Thank you.